Greetings, gamers. I am Voivode Maquette, and welcome back to the introduction series to our World of Darkness. And now we've gone over what's out there that you could possibly bring into a World of Darkness setting game. Let's take a look at the character sheets. As we covered in the last video, in the World of Darkness setting, you can either play a vampire, a hunter, or a werewolf, respectively. Now, these character sheets look, for the most part, identical, and one of the wonderful things about World of Darkness games, 5th edition, is that they pretty much are. At the very top of the character sheet, you're going to find things that are static, things that don't change very often, and that is going to be your character's name, the name of your chronicle, and various bits of information about your character that will help you keep the mind of your character and remember what your goals are, such as your ambitions and your desires. Then there's also information about your character herself. If you're playing a vampire, what clan are you? Who is your sire? And what generation are you? If you're playing a hunter, what is your creed? What is your drive that makes you hunt? And for a werewolf, you're looking at what your tribe and auspice is. Don't get too worried about this. This bit of information will be covered in depth when we build character sheets in future videos. The next section of the character sheet are your attributes. This, for the most part, is identical all the way across. You have your physicals, your socials, and your mentals. They are fairly easy and built that way on purpose. These are going to be the first part of your dice pool, which we will get into once we hit the next section. You have your physicals, so your strength, your dexterity, and your stamina. Your socials are your charisma, your manipulation, and your composure, and your mentals are your intelligence, your wits, and your resolve. These, like I said, universal across the board. We then get into our secondary attributes, however. You have your health and your willpower. Health is primarily decided by taking your stamina and adding 3 traits to it. So everybody's going to have a different stamina depending on what they decide is important for their character to be better in. Your willpower, on the other hand, is your composure plus your resolve added together. So how well you can stay composed in social situations, added to what your drive is in mental situations. It makes a lot of sense, and willpower and health can play a huge role into seeing how durable your character is in specific situations. Below that, you have your skills. Now, these are going to be set up also separated in physical, socials, and mental, although most character sheets that you can find don't actually have that marked down anywhere. But if you look at it, all of your physical skills are going to be towards the left, your social in the middle, and towards the right you'll find your mentals. These are also identical all the way across on all the character sheets. To build a dice pool, you take the attribute for the situation that you're in and you add it to a skill. We can go over an example for all 3, physical, socials, and mentals. If you were going to throw a punch at someone, you would take your strength attribute plus your brawl skill, add them together, and that would be your punching dice pool. If you were in a social situation where you're trying to intimidate someone, you would take your manipulation attribute and your intimidation skill, add them together, and that would be your intimidation. For a mental challenge, such as trying to figure out how a specific ritual works, you would take your intelligence plus your occult skill, add them together, and that is your dice pool. These are simple all the way across. Below that on the character sheet is going to be your powers. For vampires, we're talking your disciplines. For hunters, your edges, and for werewolves, your gifts and your rights. These are going to be different depending on what you're trying to play. For vampire, your disciplines are decided by both what clan you are and also what predator type you are. We'll go over predator types later, but for the most part, you can just say that it is your hunting style. Over a long time of using a specific style, you might have gained specific disciplines because of your experiences. The hunters have edges and perks. Edges are a skill. that your character seems to excel at that can up the traits and help find information. Perks are things that you add to those to make them even better or to even to help your entire cell. Werewolves, on the other hand, have their gifts and their rights which they learned from spirits. Not only do they have things dedicated to their specific tribes, but they can go and ask a spirit to teach them specific things that could help in certain situations. Such as a werewolf going to the spirit of an owl and asking for the ability to see in the dark better than most can. Those are your basic character sheets. That is it. Now, there are specifics to character sheets. The vampires are going to have to deal with hunger, so you're going to have a hunger tracker on your character sheet. Throughout the night, you might have to throw rouse checks, and that would be rousing your blood. Over time, your hunger will get higher, and your self-control will get lower. So feeding is always a good idea. Hunters have to worry about desperation. The more dangerous things get during a hunt, the higher the desperation, the more adrenaline, and that will affect your dice pool. And werewolves have rage. The more their anger builds, the harder it is to control, and the more destructive things might happen. These are all important aspects which will be dealt with in their own individual videos. The last thing that I'd like to mention in this video is the limitations and repercussions for actions. Playing a game where you have all of these powers and nothing to actually stop you from doing things might sound fun, but in truth, it takes away the dramatic factor of telling a story. What is the fun in having all of those powers and not having something at risk? Universally, vampire, hunter, or werewolf, you have things called touchstones. These are people in your lives, mortals, or in the case of werewolves, normal wolves sometimes, that ground you and keep you tied to your humanity. They make you realize what you do and why you do it. Vampires tend to take these things and add conviction, fleshing out their humanity, making them have practices and tendencies that keep them human, such as remembering that a sibling out there is still human and tries their best to be a good person. That might remind the vampire to also try to maintain their humanity. For hunters, touchstones are there. They do almost the exact same thing, but it's really more the drive. It tells them why they're hunting, who they are doing it for, why they are doing this thankless job. And for werewolves, it reminds them that they're not just power and fury and rage. Going back to vampires, we also have blood potency, where the stronger it is, the more abilities they tend to be able to have, being able to make themselves stronger, to heal worse wounds. But it also makes it harder to feed. The higher your blood potency, the more potent blood you actually need to survive through the night. That can lead to some horrific problems. Luckily, hunters don't have to worry about anything when it comes to that, other than the fact that taking physical damage can cause a lot of issues for a human. Healing physical wounds for a human is actually worse than most other situations that the supernaturals find themselves in. Werewolves tend to have to balance something known as renown. They have their glory, their honor, and their wisdom, and each of these are given to them by spirits and members of their own kind. Being able to use their gifts are judged by how much renown they actually have, so it's a balancing act. As a vampire, as your humanity drains, the more callous and angry you become. You can gain stains on your humanity that can bring negative repercussions as you play through the game. Werewolves, on the other hand, are subject to Hirano and Hagalos. Hirano is a deep depression that most Guru don't come back from, and Hagalos is a sense of might makes right and not believing that you can do anything wrong that can lead to its own problems. This has been an overview on how World of Darkness character sheets work. Most of them are identical, but they each have their own little things here and there that separate them. Understanding one is not necessarily understanding another, but having them out, being able to see them and playing with them will let you see that they are easily understandable if you give them a chance. Again, I highly suggest everybody try every one of the World of Darkness games out there. I myself, as a storyteller, get the joy of not only playing these games, but introducing them to new people. In our next video, we're going to be going over dice and how they work. So make sure you subscribe. Click the bell for notifications, and if you like the video, give it a like. Please put whatever comments or questions you have about character sheets down in the comments below. And remember, it's our World of Darkness. Good evening.